Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So this video is a little more spiritual than normal, but I love it and I think that it can have a positive impact on a lot of people. So I'm going to tell you how Eckhart Tolle was awakened and how you can kind of have that same mindset as him to aid in your own awakening process. So first of all, who is Eckhart Tolle? If you don't know who Eckhart Tolle is, you should definitely read his books. They are about the modern teachings of Buddha, Jesus, really any spiritual teacher, but he kind of put a modern twist on it that made the books pretty mainstream. So they're The Power of Now, which is the most popular one, and A New Earth, which is his second most popular one, kind of the sequel to The Power of Now. But Eckhart Tolle, he's this old guy, he's a spiritual teacher, incredibly wise, and I'll tell you the story of his awakening. But first of all, what exactly is an awakening? All right, this is really hard to describe because it's something that you have to experience. It's not something that you can just understand on the intellectual level and then be awakened. It's an actual experience and perception of the world around you, okay? So essentially what it is just finding the true being within. Realizing what you truly are. Beyond form, beyond being a human, your true eternal essence, if that makes sense. So being awakened is to stop identifying with physical form, with thought, stop identifying with the mind, and get to a place beyond that. Expand your consciousness beyond that, and with that comes true happiness and absolute bliss. And this is a very hard concept to understand, but hopefully when I tell you exactly how Eckhart was awakened, that can give you some clues and give you some exercises to start doing. So, Mr. Eckhart in his 20s was extremely depressed. He saw the world in a horribly negative light. And this went on for years. He had some of the worst years of his life. And there was one night in particular where he woke up in the middle of the night and looked at the room around him, the darkness, the furniture, the window, and everything just seemed so hostile. He could not stand how he was living. He did not like life. He was suicidal. He said to himself, I cannot live with myself. And that's pretty profound if you think about it. And he all of a sudden recognized the profundity of this statement. I cannot live with myself. Well, hold up. Think about that statement. Who is the I that he can't live with? There must be two I's. There's the I, and then there's the myself who is suffering. And this threw him into a vortex of essentially enlightenment. He all of a sudden experienced a realm of complete no thoughts. He experienced the true I am, right? Not the suffering self, right? That is an illusion. He no longer felt that he was the one suffering through these thoughts. He didn't see himself anymore as these thoughts. He didn't even see himself anymore as any physical form. He said that he blacked out, so he essentially doesn't remember a lot of this. He just knows that he went to a place beyond thought, where he truly felt and experienced I am, right? Pure consciousness, his actual true form, his form beyond thought, his form beyond the mind. And it threw him into this state of complete bliss. There was a point after his awakening where he literally, and I know this seems crazy to most people, it doesn't to me, because I understand what this process feels like. He was able to sit on a park bench for about 2 years. Now, obviously not like straight, but he spent most of his 2 years sitting on a park bench just being and just completely enjoying life. And I understand that because when you truly get rid of identification to your mind, identification to thought, and experience what you truly are, your true essence, being the one collective consciousness that animates the entire world. It is so freeing and it is so blissful. So let's dive a little deeper on how he really got there. So what he did is he was able to separate the I am, right, the true consciousness within him, from his mind, from thought. So he was able to see his thoughts that were causing him to suffer from a more omniscient point of view. He was realizing that he was witnessing those thoughts and that those thoughts were not him. So all of a sudden the thoughts stopped having power. Thoughts are only powerful if you believe in them. Thoughts have no power otherwise. Thoughts that make you suffer are thoughts that threaten your identity, right? So let's say you identify with your looks. All of a sudden you have a thought of some insecurity. Oh, I'm not looking the best today. Well, now you believe it and it makes you suffer because it kind of questions your identity, right? And so if you start building these identities on these external things, maybe you build your identity on a possession you have, or your looks, or maybe your intelligence, inevitably there will be some thought that comes up that makes you question your identity, and it will cause you to suffer. So the only way to be truly free from suffering is to step back and realize that you are not your thoughts, that your true essence, your consciousness itself is beyond that the true you is eternal, and that this human form is simply like a character in a video game. You know, something goes a little wrong with your character in a video game, you don't get upset about it. Of course you want the video game character to have an incredible life and do wondrous things in the video game and win, but you're not as attached to it. And this is the freedom that you can experience when you stop identifying with your mind and start identifying with your true nature. Now, this is easier said than done. The ego, right, the false self, this is this automatic mechanism in the mind that causes you to have these emotional reactions to these thoughts. It's a very powerful thing. It's part of our evolution. It was part of our survival, right? And so it's a very hard thing to really get rid of, but it's possible. We've reached the point in the evolution of human consciousness where the human mind is now capable of going beyond that and recognizing that this egoic psychological structure is an illusion, and that all suffering essentially just comes from thought. It comes from this identification with the mind. And so this is the cool thing about meditation, because it trains your awareness and it allows you to recognize certain things as just appearances in consciousness. Sensations are just appearances in consciousness. Your thoughts are just these appearances in consciousness. Now, meditation is great, but you can simply be aware of these thoughts as they happen to you on a day-to-day basis. Every time you have a negative thought, you simply notice it. And notice how it isn't you, it just simply spontaneously arises and you're a witness to it. Now, you can either choose to give that thought energy or not. The universe works in binary. If you go back to a very basic level, there's just ones and zeros. You can say 1 is a yes and 0 is a no. Now, the universe is so incredibly simple yet so complex, but on the most basic level, it doesn't understand language. It just understands your energy. So a thought comes into your mind and it's like an audition for your attention. You can either give it attention, you can either believe it and have it have this emotional response and give it energy, or you can simply choose to not. And you'll find that the more you choose to not give these negative thoughts energy, the less and less they will start appearing. This is an evolutionary construct, right? It helps you survive. The more you think about something, the more your mind thinks that you should be thinking about this thing for survival. So you just have to get out of that cycle. And every time that there's a negative thought, you recognize it, but you don't get attached to it. You don't give it energy. You don't allow it to have that emotional reaction out of you. Or if you do have an emotional reaction, realize it and then allow it to fade away instead of going deeper and allowing that thought to fester over a long period of time. So this is the thing, man. I don't really think, I might be wrong, I don't believe Eckhart really meditated at all up until his awakening. Meditation is a great process and it can definitely lead to some incredible things and awakening in and of itself. But there are other ways to do it too. Eckhart was quite the anomaly because this doesn't usually happen this quickly. He was in a place of such utter depression that it kind of forced his consciousness to expand, right? But he awakened simply by recognizing himself from thought. He recognized the true nature within, the one who was witnessing the thoughts, and how they were separate from the thought. And for him, it was that simple. Now, it was incredibly profound, but it was relatively simple. So, if you guys want to become awakened like Eckhart Tolle, the first step is to simply recognize that thoughts aren't you. And be aware of these negative thoughts that come into your mind and don't let them have an effect on you. Attempt not to get attached to them. The more and more you become aware, the more and more victorious you will be. So that's the bottom line. So I hope this helped you guys. I hope you will put this into practice and get on the path to becoming awakened, because it is so much more magical than you could possibly believe. Just absolute freedom, and you will notice, just do it for a couple weeks and you will notice an incredible difference in your life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you. And yeah, please like, comment, subscribe. Go check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and some more motivational stuff like this. There are a lot of benefits on there. And yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.